We visit with the mayors on Wednesday. John Nichols here this morning, City of College Station. How are you today?
I'm very good. Always happy to come in, and sometimes I never know what we're going to talk about. So this is one of those days.
There
so
you
I
go.
Hope you got an agenda.
We are going to start. I have an agenda. The important issues of College Station need to be addressed by the City Council. Egg prices are through the roof.
Aren't they for sure?
So, what are we going to do? We have discussed chickens in the backyards of College Station for a long time.
Yeah. And we allow them per state law and per city ordinance. I think more people might take advantage of that and raise their own eggs. Now, I think that you talk about expensive eggs. Those are going to be expensive eggs.
They are. We have a lady who actually comes by the radio station, makes them available to us if we want to buy some. But I can see for those people who want to have an egg every morning, that might be an answer. And
just don't calculate the cost of the chicken coop and the feed and the little chicks and all of the other stuff that goes with it. But that's fine. And that's what you like. More power to you.
Then you become an economist. The economist comes out and you start talking about that. Last week in workshop, you got to see a lot of big dollar objects and plans out there that are on the horizon. We are still feeling the effects of people who are responding to the Macy's situation. So the idea of an expenditure by the city on any level will sometimes get attention. But when we start talking about a rec center, when we start talking about what we might do as far as a convention center is concerned, talk a little bit about the process and understanding that this is a council, has a lot of new members who are they seem to be very aware of the bottom line cost when it comes to first building something and then the operation and maintenance.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons we had all three of those items on workshop, and it really was a long workshop session, was because we have three new members to the council this year, and it's time for them to kind of understand the background. And part of each of the presentations was to give a bit of the history of how we got to where we are. The no more than 4 code enforcement was the one that has the most public engagement currently, but the rec center certainly has had that over time. And the convention center, event center, conference center, whatever you want to call it, is maybe a little later coming along. But again, has been discussed for a couple of 3 years. So we got consultant studies going in both areas for rec center and the convention conference center. And that was an opportunity to get an update on that. They are big dollar items. But we understand and have had a number of studies over the years that indicated a demand for and interest in a rec center that's done in more of a traditional family-style recreation space. And that was one of the motivations for buying the Macy's, was as a building that could be used for that, very visible. And there were several members on council at that time that were really passionate about that being the location because of its accessibility and its visibility. The funding for Rec Center coming up, once we decide what the programming is, and really we're just now into the second phase where we're getting to the dollars and cents that you ask about. That will be evaluated by the council and the location, but ultimately, probably what will happen is we've got a pretty good fund balance. I mean, we've been reserving funds for some of these big projects. We've been selling land, as people maybe don't remember as well. We don't just buy things, we sell things. So we got a pretty good fund balance. We can fund part of that, just take the rec center, for example, out of a fund balance and put the rest on a bond issue and see where the citizens are. If the citizens want it and will vote for it, then we'll build it. If they don't want it, they'll vote against it, just like we had happen 2 years ago, and they'll vote against it and we won't have a rec center. So that one will ultimately come to the citizens.
Convention center, same situation?
Convention center is a little bit different deal, and you may have heard me challenge that a little bit more from a fiscal point of view, because we're talking about a couple $100 million building. There are funding approaches using both our hot tax funds, which is separate from our general fund, and we're generating about $8 million in hot tax funds. We could pay some debt on that out of the stream of income from hot funds, because the whole idea is to increase tourism and increase visitors to College Station that will stay in hotels and get their average revenue up and get their occupancy up to closer to 80 or 90% from where it is currently. So we can fund part of it out of that. There are special initiatives through the state where you can access funding to help pay for a recreation center, and we can use some of our fund balance for that. But ultimately, I think we'll be looking for partners on that and see how we can partner with other entities here in the community, because it'll be a community-wide space. People ask me, is it going to be like the Legend Center? No, it's not going to be like the Legend Center. Legend Center is a very great facility. It is magnificent for what it does, but this is more of a recreation center for families, and if you want to call it YMCA-like, but that doesn't mean it's a YMCA building, because right now they're not bringing capital to the table, although they could. And I think out of that combination of things, plus keeping in mind that we've got to have probably membership fees. Any recreation center in any city has a family monthly or annual plan, and that's another income stream. So we'll be evaluating all of those.
Former Mayor Moody really drove the YMCA idea.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I think we understand, with a pool, you have operation, maintenance, liability. I mean, that's a big number, and a lot of cities, for instance, in parks, have just gotten away from that. They don't want to do that. Thomas Park, you decided a pool, among other reasons, would not be there. So that is a consideration. You said if the YMCA would bring money to the table, there are ways that they could do that. Are we in any kind of a discussion? Are you in any kind of discussion with them?
Ongoing. YMCA is likely to have some programming here in town. If you invite Dr. Mooney in to have a conversation, you'll learn more about it. I don't think they've gotten to the point of making an announcement, but their approach, as I understand it, is to build from the ground up and start some programming out of what you might call a storefront. And I think you'll see some of that, which then helps them to build their brand and be visible in the community if they can do that. As far as capital funding, right now, YMCA has not indicated that they're going to put 10 or 20 million or even anything like that into this building. So we're proceeding with the idea that maybe they wouldn't be partners to the rec center.
But in fact, if they want to have family-oriented programs, and you're just saying family-oriented is going to be an important part of your center, then all of a sudden we've got two different people doing the same thing.
Well, what might happen, though, and this is a secondary decision process down the road, so we get voter support to build this rec center, we can have an opportunity to contract with YMCA to run that. And they do that. They run city-owned facilities in several different cities in this region. And so that would be an operational decision. Do we want to have a third party run that, or do we want our own staff to build a staff to do that? Our current parks director has done that, run a rec center for 8 or 10 years in New Braunfels, and it was cash flowing. So they were able to build a new rec center and had a cash flow, break even, and run it as a city recreational center.
John Nichols,
without the YMCA name on it.
John Nichols, the mayor of College Station, with us. I don't watch gavel-to-gavel coverage of city council meetings. I can't.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. But you have this council bases its information on the information staff gives them. So what are the comparable situations that do they report to you? We looked at this to decide on our presentation for the convention center. We looked at this for our presentation having to do with a rec center. Where are the markers that they look at, whether they be in Texas or out of Texas, when they try to give you information?
Oh, well, if you have qualified professionals doing the reporting, the assessment, the evaluation, and reporting to us, is like any other presentation that you might listen to. You judge the accuracy and the quality of that information that's coming to you by your own knowledge and awareness of what's going on in the world. I have a lot of faith in what our staff does. We've got excellent department heads, and they are the ones working day to day with these consultant firms that are providing us the data on what works in a rec center or what works or would be logical in a conference center. We don't have on staff people that are perfectly knowledgeable about all of those kinds of things. So that's why you bring consultants in, and you bring quality consultants that have a good track record, good references. Council persons can pursue those questions in those presentations and ask if have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What about this operation over here? Why is this not working somewhere else, but you say it's going to work here? We have an opportunity to vet that through the public engagement process, and we do it publicly where everybody in the audience can listen and have their own. We try to represent the citizens. That's what representative government's all about. We're representing those people that are other taxpayers out there, and we're elected to do so. So we need to be aware of what kind of questions they would ask.
Finally today, Amazon. College Station made national news when Amazon was going to be a port where we were going to have delivery. Well, we made national news in one service I had yesterday as they were discussing where Amazon is with this and that they've backed down. They've brought in different drones and used a lot of the same phrases that we had heard the citizens complain about. They're going to move their location, or what are you hearing as far as Amazon, and will they return in any way, shape, or form or level?
Number one, they're not flying because they're still waiting for FAA approval of the new software system that they had to put into those new drones. Mm-hmm. And so, as I understand it, they're not flying currently. The second point is, yes, they have indicated to us that they would like to move to a location that's a little more remote from neighborhoods. And we have, as a city, suggested some ideas where they might look. They've looked at those, but they're a private company, and they're looking at on their own as what they're going to do. And so I'm not privy to anything beyond that other than they're still cooperating with the city, and I'm expecting that somewhere in the community they will relocate this operation because they've said to us that they plan to relocate. But the problem they had with the new drones and that change in software resulted from some issues they had in their testing range, not here, and so that had to be reapproved by FAA and has not yet been done.
Got it. What else you have for us today?
Oh, man, there's a lot of things going on in the city. I would like to say on that council meeting, you may have heard that we now have a new agreement after 50 years with the Texas A&M University. I heard it on the news yesterday, a really nice report on that. I want to compliment Texas A&M's leadership and our city leadership, both Chief Mann plus city manager and Deputy City Manager Jeff Capps. They've worked on this for several years to try to work out an equitable deal, and I think we now have a really good relationship and a good partnership on that. So I didn't want to let that go past without people knowing about it, because it really generates an equitable income stream to support our fire code in the fire department here locally. I do want to remind people that David Brower, tall guy,
I know,
been in
yeah,
here, is
again
the Employee of the Year.
Great.
And, of course, with Debbie Eller retiring, there's going to be some reorganization in that department, but he will be the lead on much of the community services stuff that we've been doing. The splash pads are open. Hope everybody that enjoys splash pad, particularly the one out at the Fun for All Park. Hey, here's a good one. Big vehicle event.
Sounds good.
The childhood stuff coming out
yeah,
of you.
there you
Come
go.
on.
Okay.
Over at the library, Ringer Library, Wednesday from 10 a.m. to noon. Bring your kids that love the big trucks and the sirens and the lights and all of that. We'll have quite a variety of things. I guess that's enough for today.
All right, there we go.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Visit the Mayors on Wednesdays. You can see this interview on the go to YouTube, type in WTAW, subscribe, and you'll be able to watch us. Thanks for the time.
Does your sewing machine go clankety clank or bang, 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 bang? If it does, you need to come on